It started like any ordinary morning. Madeline Kingsbury got up early, got her 2 young kids ready, and dropped them off at daycare with her ex-partner. She texted her sister. She made plans for the weekend. She was supposed to start her remote workday, like she always did. But after 11:30 a.m., she stopped replying. Her phone went silent, and she never showed up to pick up her children. When police entered her home, they found her jacket, her wallet, her phone, everything she would have taken with her, still inside. But Madeline was gone, and the man she lived with, the father of her children, said he didn't know where she went. This is the story of Madeline Kingsbury, a young mother who vanished from her home without a trace. And the horrifying truth police would uncover 2 months later. Madeline Jane Kingsbury, or Maddie as her friends and family called her, was the kind of person people instantly trusted. She was 26 years old, living in Winona, Minnesota, and working in clinical research at the Mayo Clinic, one of the most prestigious medical institutions in the country. She was bright, ambitious, and deeply committed to her work. But if you asked anyone who knew her what came first, it was her kids. Maddie was a mother of 2, a little girl and a little boy, just 5 and 2 years old. She adored them. Every photo showed the same energy, arms around her children, always smiling, always present. She was also close with her family, especially her sister, Megan, who she texted and called constantly. The kind of sister you could depend on. Someone who'd never go silent without a reason. But things at home weren't perfect. Madeline shared her house with her ex-partner, Adam Frevel, the father of her children. Their relationship had ended, but the two continued living together. It wasn't ideal. It wasn't comfortable. But for the sake of the kids, they tried to manage. Behind closed doors, though, things were strained. Family and friends would later describe controlling behavior from Adam, moments of emotional manipulation, and a history that raised quiet concerns. But no one expected what would happen next. It was Friday, March 31st, 2023, a completely ordinary morning. Madeline and Adam got the kids dressed, packed their bags, and dropped them off at daycare just after 8 a.m. On the drive home, Madeline texted her sister Megan about weekend plans. They joked about outfits, shared their usual sisterly banter. Nothing seemed off. By all accounts, Madeline was planning to head inside, start her workday from home, and pick the kids up that afternoon. But at 11:30 a.m., her phone went silent. No more texts, no calls, no social media. She missed a work meeting. She never checked in with daycare. She never showed up to pick up her children. And from that moment, she was never seen alive again. The day had started like any other, but by midday, something wasn't right. Madeline Kingsbury had stopped responding to messages. No one could reach her by text. She wasn't picking up her phone. And when she missed a scheduled meeting for work, her colleagues grew concerned. This wasn't like her. By 4:30 p.m., she still hadn't picked up her children from daycare, and that was the moment everything changed. Madeline's family knew she would never just not show up for her kids. No call, no text, nothing. That wasn't forgetfulness, that wasn't a mistake, that was a red flag. Her sister Megan tried to reach her again. When that failed, she called their parents. Within hours, her family was calling around. Friends, co-workers, anyone who might have seen her. Nobody had. So they called the police. Later that day, officers arrived at Madeline's house in Winona for a welfare check. What they found raised even more questions. Inside the home were her jacket, her purse and wallet, her keys, and most notably, her phone, the same one that had gone silent hours earlier. Her vehicle, a dark blue 2014 Chrysler Town and Country van, was still parked in the driveway. She hadn't gone anywhere by car, and yet she was gone. But what stood out most wasn't what police found, it was what they didn't find. Adam Fravel, the father of Madeline's children, the last known person to see her, was not at the home when police arrived. According to him, they had dropped the kids off together around 8 a.m., then returned to the house. At some point that morning, he claimed he left, and when he came back, Madeline was gone. But police weren't convinced. They didn't find any evidence that Madeline had walked away from the home on foot. There were no signs of a struggle, no indication that she'd packed a bag, and no history of her ever walking off without telling someone. In fact, everything she owned was still there. It was as if she had simply disappeared into thin air in the middle of her own home, in the middle of the day. The next day, police issued a missing persons bulletin. Her family gave their first interviews, pleading for help, asking the public to come forward with any tips. And behind the scenes, investigators were already beginning to dig deeper, especially into Adam Fravel's version of events, because something about his story didn't sit right. As word spread that Madeline Kingsbury was missing, the quiet town of Winona, Minnesota, came alive with concern and action. Flyers with her face went up in windows. Posts flooded social media. But this wasn't just another missing person case. People felt that something was deeply wrong. Within days, the search for Maddie became one of the largest in Minnesota's history. Over 2,000 volunteers joined the effort, combing through woods, fields, roadsides, and riverbanks across Winona and neighboring Fillmore County. Police deployed drones, dogs, and ground teams. They interviewed neighbors, checked phone records, pushed public pleas through every media outlet they could find. Her sister, Megan, spoke to reporters with raw emotion. She made it clear, Maddie didn't run away. She didn't abandon her children. She was taken. My sister would never, ever, ever leave her kids, not even for a minute. Megan Kingsbury. But even as the search intensified, there was one person who wasn't helping, Adam Fravel. Despite being the last person to see her alive, he refused to participate in the search efforts. He didn't speak at vigils, he didn't go on camera, he didn't plead for her return. And when police began asking tough questions, he lawyered up. He released a short written statement denying any involvement. He claimed he was cooperating. But behind the scenes, detectives weren't so sure. As investigators dug into Adam's past, a pattern began to emerge. According to Maddie's family, their relationship had been filled with manipulation and control. They weren't officially together anymore, but they still lived in the same house, an arrangement that had grown tense in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. Some reports suggested that Maddie was planning to move out. Others claimed Adam had become more possessive in recent months. The couple had allegedly argued over custody and finances, and Madeline had been looking into options to live independently. And then she was gone. Police obtained cell phone records and surveillance footage. Adam claimed he left the home late that morning, alone, and returned to find Maddie missing. But cell data suggested otherwise. His phone pinged in rural Fillmore County, miles from the home, during the exact window when Maddie vanished. And a camera caught a van matching Madeline's driving into that same remote area. Police believed he had driven it, alone. The case was building, quietly, methodically, behind the scenes. But authorities waited. They wanted certainty, they wanted a body, and on June 7th, 2023, more than 2 months after Maddie vanished, they found it. After more than 2 months of searching, the Kingsbury family and the thousands who stood with them finally got an answer. But it wasn't the one they were hoping for. On June 7th, 2023, a deputy from the Fillmore County Sheriff's Office was out on routine patrol when something caught his attention. Off a remote, wooded stretch of road, he noticed an area that seemed disturbed. Brush and grass had been intentionally flattened, and there were signs that something had been hidden there. Beneath that patch of land, they found what they feared most: a human body wrapped and concealed in a tightly taped tarp. It had been there for weeks. The body was transported for examination, and just a few hours later, authorities confirmed the identity. It was Madeline Kingsbury. She had been found just a few hundred feet from a gravel road, in an area where Adam Fravel's cell phone had pinged during the exact window of her disappearance. That same day, just hours after the discovery, police made their move. They arrested Adam Fravel and charged him with second-degree murder. The criminal complaint laid out a chilling timeline. Phone records showed Adam had driven Madeline's van the morning she vanished. He had left the house alone, despite previously claiming he didn't. Surveillance footage placed the van and Adam in the same area where her body was later found. The location was known to him. He had connections to nearby property and used that route frequently. And while the cause of death wasn't publicly detailed, investigators stated that the condition in which Madeline was found, bound, concealed, and dumped, was consistent with homicide and an attempt to hide evidence. Even after his arrest, Adam Fravel denied everything. He pleaded not guilty. His legal team released a brief statement claiming he loved his children and was mourning privately. But his silence over those 70-plus days spoke volumes. While thousands of people searched for Maddie, he stayed home. While her family begged for answers, he stayed quiet. And while the town grieved, he planned to walk away. He wasn't going to. The arrest of Adam Fravel brought a sense of relief, but not closure. Because for Madeline Kingsbury's family, justice doesn't mean headlines. It means two young children growing up without their mother. It means birthdays, holidays, and milestones spent wondering why. And it means living every day with the knowledge that someone Madeline once trusted took her life. In the days after her remains were discovered, Maddie's family released a statement. "Our hearts are broken, but we are grateful to everyone who stood with us. To the law enforcement who never gave up, and to the volunteers who walked every mile, thank you. Madeline was a mother, a daughter, a sister, and a friend. She deserved so much more than this." The Winona community gathered for a candlelight vigil, and thousands poured in tributes online. People who had never met Madeline shared stories of how they changed their routines, reached out to loved ones, or checked on friends in difficult relationships, all because of her story. Her case became a symbol of quiet, hidden abuse, the kind that doesn't leave marks, but still takes lives. Adam Fravel was formally charged with second-degree murder. He remains in custody, awaiting trial. If convicted, he faces decades in prison. Prosecutors say the evidence is overwhelming: digital footprints, surveillance footage, and physical evidence connecting him directly to the area where Maddie was found. His legal team continues to maintain his innocence, but few believe him, and the public, especially in Minnesota, continues to watch closely. Maddie's death sparked a conversation far beyond her small town, about coercive control, about the illusion of amicable relationships with manipulative partners, and about how easily a woman can vanish, even in the middle of a normal day, in the middle of her own home. In the wake of her death, supporters have advocated for Maddie's Law, new legislation aimed at improving emergency response and domestic violence precautions for adults in dangerous living situations. Because the truth is, Madeline Kingsbury should be alive today, raising her children, working her dream job, living her life. She did everything for her kids. She stayed strong through a difficult relationship. She tried to move forward until someone took that away. Madeline Kingsbury didn't run away. She didn't forget her children. She was taken. And now, the man who took her is facing justice. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Share this story and subscribe for more real, powerful true crime cases just like Maddie's.